Good afternoon, everybody. October the 30th, on the eve of Halloween, the Gurus are back in action. Yesterday, we did an awesome midseason NFL superlative, so make sure to check that out. But if you're here for Survivor content, get ready because this is going to be a fun one. Xavier Aguiar, Mike Testa here. Mike, let's get this out of the way immediately. When you saw the previews last week and you saw that the tribes were swapping again, we talked about it a little bit at the last review, but what was your instant reaction? I don't think I asked you that last week.
Just complete disgust. I'm so over. You know how much I hate the 3-tribe format. I hate it. I don't think it's that fun. I don't think it's that interesting. Jeff thinks it's fun, obviously, but I was like, okay, so we're going back from 2 to 3 again. And you saw Jeff's kind of quirkiness is like, we could do a merge with 12. But you know what else we can do with 12? 3 tribes again. I'm like, oh, here we go. We just did that 2 weeks ago. We literally had 2 tribes for literally just 2 weeks. In this case, two vote outs for Jason and Matt. And we're back to 3 tribes. So no, I did not like it at all. I was like, with 12, we could do something interesting where I didn't think we need another tribe swap. I thought we could have done, not the mergatory that they do in the recent new era seasons, but I didn't think we'd have to do four people on each tribe with 3 tribes. That doesn't make any sense. So no, I did not like it at all. And I still didn't like it watching the episode.
Yeah, I mean, let's get into it because that happened immediately. That was one of the first scenes of the episode.
Yeah.
We get these new tribes in. So the new red tribe, I'm sick of using the tribe names because they've swapped so many times. It gets too confusing. I'm going off colors now. The new red tribe was Christina, Alex, Nate, and Sophie. So Nate, who is in arguably the best position in the entire game,
Now in the worst.
immediately gets hosed, by far the worst of anybody.
Yeah.
The new blue tribe, Steven, Sage, Shannon, and Jawan. So that's a fun one. You have 3 of the former red tribes, the original red tribes, kind of reuniting. Sage and Shannon continue their beef, and we'll get into that as the episode progresses here. And then the new yellow, which I thought was by far the most stacked tribe of the bunch.
Easily.
Sophie with an I, Shannon, Rizgod, baby, Rizzo, and MC.
Right,
So,
Savannah in that last one, not Shannon. Right, yes.
I said Savannah, yes. I said Shannon, yes. I apologize. Savannah.
Yeah.
Obviously, Shannon's on the mind here because she is pretty much this entire episode, and
Yes.
we'll get into that in a bit later. But I really liked at least the fact that watching this episode, no one was complaining about the swaps until after the challenge happened. I like that. Immediately they kind of put their happy faces on during the reward challenge.
Right.
They're like, okay, like here we go. And then immediately, as soon as they got out of there, everyone was like, what are we doing? Like, what is happening here?
Yep.
I think the only people that were really excited about this were the new yellow tribe. If you just subtract MC, I feel like Rizgod, Savannah, and Sophie with an I were really excited about this because they were together. They saw MC as kind of expendable. God forbid they lose, easy vote out. They still have their core. They seemed like they had their mind made up. The other 2 tribes, not so much. There was a lot of like, I don't know where I stand here. Do we go on these like previous color lines?
Right.
There's a lot to digest. But during the reward challenge, I thought it was interesting that the teams, for the most part, worked well together, and it was a somewhat unique competition. It wasn't just ball, puzzle, etc. What did you think about that? Because immediately, that was my favorite part of the episode. I just liked seeing something a little bit different on the show.
I liked it. I mean, again, I don't love the 3 tribe stuff, but 3 tribes of 4, so you don't get like one tribe that's absolutely decimated and only has 2 people running the challenge. I liked that, and I liked the at the end. It comes down to knocking off whatchamacallit, those little stacks, if you will. And we kind of saw a similar thing with Rizzo 2 challenges ago where he tried to go Rick Barry on these like kind of basketball things. This was more of a carnival game where you're kind of trying to knock off that pin.
It was very Can Jam adjacent. That's what it reminded me of.
Yes, exactly right. Yes. So that was fun, and obviously Rizzo did really well. And the yellow tribe won. By the way, MC's tribe still has not lost a challenge yet, so that's something to kind of throw out there. But I thought it was overall finally. By the way, finally we have a reward challenge. It took us 11 days to get a reward challenge. The last time we had a reward-ish challenge, it was immunity and reward, but it was the infamous fruit that Sophie with an IE did not really love.
Well, and then if you count the chickens from the previous episode, yeah.
Right, exactly. Those were both immunity and reward challenges, but this one was legit just you're getting a reward. and it was grilled cheese, and I forget what else. But it was like overall the challenge was
It was
good.
iced tea, brownies, but I'm glad you brought it
Sure.
up because we've been complaining that these longer episodes in a good season, it would almost feel like it's not enough time,
Mhm.
but in this season it's such a drag.
Too
And
much
I
time.
think an
Yeah.
easy way to cut that down is the reward challenges. And I think the way I was perceiving this, and correct me if I'm wrong here, Jeff this season more so than in recent history has really made an emphasis of this game is super challenging. Just because we shorten the days doesn't mean this game isn't as hard as it's ever been. He's been talking about the temperature in Fiji, how hot and swampy it's
Right.
been throughout this season. I think this is just a theory. I haven't seen this anywhere. This is just me talking here. I think there's less reward challenges because he sees this kind of disdain online for the modern survivor, and he wants to bring back like the kind of tough, treacherous survivor that was prevalent in the earlier seasons. So I think lessening the rewards makes the rewards inherently more special. And then you get people like Sophie and Alice kind of on the brink of crashing out here. They're tired. They're really talking about how difficult the game is. I
Yeah.
think in a way they're manipulating it so that way we're not complaining about how easy this game has become.
I don't disagree with that. I just do think that with a 90-minute episode, which Survivor has now adopted 90-minute episodes. I believe it was halfway through the new era where they're like, we're going full 90 minutes every single week on Wednesday. I just think if you're going to do that, you have to have more reward challenges.
Oh, I
If
100% agree.
if not,
100% agree.
It's a bunch of filler. It's a bunch of stuff at camp that we don't really care about. It's a bunch of stuff that's like, okay, how can we fill this 90-minute episode? Because a reward challenge will take up a good chunk of time. Plus, it'll kind of there is some strategy involved because
Mike, I have an idea too. It doesn't just need to be food. It could be like a massage, which would be really vital. It could be like some sort of hot shower, like an ice bath for your joints. It could be watching a movie. There's so many other things it could be that it isn't just refueling these players, because that is clearly an advantage.
Yes.
Like think about how Sophie with an eye has been looking the last few weeks.
She needed food.
She's been just devastated, and she's only been there 11 days, but she clearly looked like she was running on empty. Her brain was fogging up. She was just making a lot of mental errors. It seemed like as soon as she was able to refuel, she had this new energy. Later in the immunity challenge, she performed by far her best since early in the season.
Correct.
And again, in real time, this is only like 2 weeks, less than 2 weeks. It's only been like 11, 12 days.
Yeah, it's day 11.
So to me, I think there's other ways around it, but you have to include it in the episode, because this episode, even though it wasn't a great viewing experience whatsoever, it at least didn't drag like some of the other episodes.
The other one's dragged. Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, 100%. I think with this, obviously you knew Sophie needed food. They also, in the new era, they don't give you rice. In the old seasons, they would give you rice, and as a tribe, you would dictate how much you would portion each day, and can you last 39 days with this one bowl of rice or this one bag of rice. And obviously, some teams were not able to do that very well, and they used to try to negotiate to Jeff, hey, can we get more rice? We've already ran out. This new era does not get any rice, and if you lose a challenge, you lose your flint every single time. I kind of hate that. It's like, hey, we're going to penalize this team that you lost, and you can't even make fire now with flint.
And again, Mike, that seems forced. That seems like a forced endeavor to try to make this game more difficult because of the shortening of the days.
Right, because they did 3-tribe formats, and I'm thinking about Brain, Brawn, and Beauty. They did that a few times where they had 3-tribe formats before, and those seasons worked, but they weren't decimating one tribe with one loss. It's like, oh yeah, you can't get your flint until you win a challenge, and you can't eat food because you can't cook food because you don't have fire. It's like they don't give you rice either. So I guess Jeff is leaning into this, but it's very forced. It's like, okay, now that it's 26 days, we're going to make this really, really difficult and make it sound really, really hard because they get no rice. They don't get any flint if they lose a challenge. We're going to keep penalizing you. It's very, and then again, not as many rewards as 39-day seasons would get rewards. So, I mean, it took us till day whatever to get an actual chicken reward, whatever that was. So, I mean, that was like 5 episodes in. So, yeah, I don't love any of that. It feels very forced. I would rather go to 39 days and more rewards. Whether it doesn't have to be, like you said, it doesn't have to be food rewards. It could be, they used to do showers. They used to do massages. They used to do, like, I'm thinking about All Stars when Rob and Amber just watched a movie in a car or something like that. Like, they used to do like actual unique rewards at a volcano. They had they used to actually like do stuff. Now I guess it's like the low budget. They got to do the same things, but yeah, I don't love this new version of we're gonna do these kind of cheesy rewards. and we're not going to do as many of them. I mean, again, this is the 6th episode, and we got our first pure reward challenge, not immunity, just straight up, we're competing for reward. And I think it just takes too long in the season. If you're getting 6 episodes in before your first reward challenge, that's not good.
So as you alluded to, the new Yellow Tribe won the reward challenge. So that was big for Sophie. There was no, like, as far as I could tell, there was no like clue or anything in any of the food, which has been accustomed to modern Survivor, unless they missed it. I've always wondered that. What if you just miss it? Like somehow you accidentally swallow it, whatever happens. But they didn't find anything, at least, from what I was concerned about. And then the new Red Tribe came in second, so they only got the grilled cheeses, which was a little weird. I thought that was a little strange for me, but whatever. And then New Blue came up empty-handed. So let's go through the dynamics here, Mike. So we already kind of talked about the new Yellow Tribe, but watching the episode after the reward challenge, we saw that it was very clear that MC was aware that Sophie, Savannah, and Rizzo were a trio. She was trying to make connections because I think everyone knows Emerge is on the horizon, but she clearly was feeling at the bottom. She has the beware advantage, so she didn't have a vote, God forbid, if they went to tribal council. And so she was kind of on the outs. But Sophie, Savannah, and Rizzo didn't really know MC's standing. They had no idea what she was feeling, but they themselves were like, okay, if she does have an idol, if she does have an advantage, we need to combat this somehow. We're going to go look out for an advantage, which I thought was really good heads-up thinking. MC was like catching crabs. They were kind of on the forefront playing offensively. I really liked that. Here's what I absolutely loved, though. Sophie goes out and finds it and doesn't tell Savannah or Rizzo. I thought that was the best move of the season, easily. Nothing has come close to this. The fact that she found it, by the way, the advantage was she basically gets to ask someone if they have an idol. If they say yes, she gets it. If not, whatever. I think that he's grossly overpowered, by the way. I think in a normal season, it's kind of fun if you really don't know, if you don't share who has an idol.
Everybody knows in these seasons.
Modern Survivor, everyone knows. We just saw the beginning of the season where both tribes know who has the idol. I just thought it was a little tacky because I'm sure the producers could have taken it away and put something else there. Like, that's not that hard. They have the ability to do that. So I think it's literally setting up for a manufactured moment of Sophie asking Rizzo, hey, do you have the idol? And then getting the idol, whatever.
It's basically, by the way, it's not only it's a free idol, essentially, if she knows who has it, which she, of course, does. It's also taking away an idol from someone who already has it. So it's an overpowered, it's not just you find a hidden immunity idol, you're taking a hidden immunity idol away from someone that already has it and could use it for themselves.
Who earned it with a beware advantage, had to go through multiple hoops to get it. He had to find the clue. He had to dig up the other clue. He had to go get it. It just felt super duper forced to me. But again, it'll make a moment. It'll be manufactured, which I don't like. But here's the thing you
didn't touch on, though. I don't know if she's going to use it on Rizzo. What we were set up for here, if they were to lose, possibly, is if MC did not win that challenge, they would have had to go to tribal. She would have had to dig up the idol so that she didn't lose her vote. Then, had Sophie seen her possibly digging something up, she could have been like, "Oh, wait a second." True. Ask MC, and then that would obviously, because she wouldn't. I don't think she would use it against her own alliance. I think she's trying to. Now, the good thing on MC's part is MC has told nobody besides Steven that she has this thing.
Right, and that could still come down the pipeline with the impending merge here. God forbid she loses the challenge. She's going to have to dig it up, or else she doesn't have a vote. Then that becomes interesting. Does someone see her? Does that somehow get back to Sophie? And then all of a sudden, she stays good with Rizzo and Savannah, but has her own moment, has her own idol. That could be really interesting. Now, it becomes a little bit more tricky when you do have a merge and you do have 11 people, because now everyone kind of knows what just happened. They call your shot. It's a little bit different. It's more isolated if you do it in your own tribe before. If she were to have asked MC in that scenario, then the only people that know are Savannah and Rizzo. Rizzo has the idol. Everyone knows that.
Right, everyone knows that already.
Now they can kind of have this gentleman's agreement, like, oh, Rizzo played the idol, MC wanted him out. Well, they could craft a story if they wanted to and kind of use that to their advantage. Now they don't have that luxury. But I wanted to just touch on one more thing with this Yellow Tribe here. And it was MC telling Rizzo that everyone knows he has the idol. Rizzo played it off masterfully.
He
I
did.
thought he was great. His reaction was really good. I don't necessarily believe him that he thought it was going to get out the way it did. I don't think I do. In his confessional, when he said, oh, I kind of figured this would happen, I don't believe it, because I think he thought that he was super good with Shannon. Maybe he could sniff out that Sage was the one who told everyone, but they don't really gain anything from saying that. Sage kind of did it as a last-ditch effort. She felt like she was at the bottom. She was just trying to share information. So maybe if Rizzo is good enough to kind of figure this out, I believe him.
Well,
but
no,
it just felt
MC
like to
said,
me he was thinking on his feet and didn't really think much of it.
Well, MC said that it was Sage. I mean, she should have told him to his face. She said it was Sage.
Oh, I don't remember that part. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. I wrote it down. I was like, so, because I was interested to see your take on this. When she told him that Sage outed, he's like, yeah, Sage told us that you had the idol. And we were
okay,
like,
I must have misheard that. Okay,
I thought the only person who looks bad in that scenario is Sage.
Is Sage, 100%.
Because
MC is gaining trust the way Sage was trying to gain trust by sharing that information. Yeah, I must have just missed that.
MC's on the bottom now. She's trying to tell Rizzo, hey, one of your own is trying to, kind of out you to the rest of the tribe. Just letting you know that, so it doesn't get out. I'm going to the source so that you don't hear from anyone else. Sage already told us. We know. Everyone knows on that tribe because he told it in front of everybody. So I think that was good by MC, and Rizzo played it off really, really well. But he now knows that Sage is kind of the wild card. If he didn't already, I mean, he probably would have sifted out anyways. But MC telling him who it was, I think was good on her part. And I think the only person who looks bad in that scenario is Sage. In a hypothetical scenario where they try to go back with Uli strong, Red strong, and obviously Rizzo's like, well, we can't really trust Sage because she's told everybody in the other tribe, she's told the enemies that I have an idol, so we can't trust her anymore. So I think that in Rizzo's mind, he now knows, okay, Sage is playing. She's playing hard. She's coming after. She's not doing these tribe color wars anymore. She's kind of doing her own thing. And I think MC saying that, obviously she has to, because this is what Jason and Matt did not do. You have to adapt if you're on the bottom now. You can't just be like, oh, I'm rocking with my old Hina guys. She no longer has any of her old Hina people on her new tribe.
Yeah, she was wise enough to share the information. She was wise enough to go catch dinner for everybody. Right, it was clear that she was trying to indoctrinate herself into the tribe. So I did appreciate that from MC. Great MC episode.
That was just a real quick. I want to add that because I don't think Sage.
No, I'm glad you caught that. I don't know how I missed that, but that's very interesting.
Yeah, very, very interesting conversation at the water well there, because you can see Rizzo's face. He was kind of like surprised. He's like, wait, is she bluff? Like, did she actually know that I have the idol? But once she said Sage told everybody, I think you could kind of see his face. He's like, okay, all right, the jig is up. You got me. But he played it off really well. It almost looked like I think he was surprised at first that MC knew, and he was like, what do you mean? But then he obviously was cool about it. He was like, thank you for telling me, and then we'll go from here. But obviously it was a moot point because they didn't lose the immunity challenge, so they didn't have to.
Right. It doesn't matter. We'll see when it does matter. But I want to transition to the new red tribe here, which is Christina, Alex, Nate, and Sophie. So this was kind of interesting stuff here, because Christina and Sophie seemed like a fine enough duo entering this episode. I didn't think much of it. It seemed like they were tight with each other. And then immediately they try to rope Alex in. Alex just wants to be a part of something. He doesn't care at this point. As long as he's not at the bottom, he will work with anyone. He's kind of a marksman, a free agent, if you will. He's just trying to sign a contract, a one-day contract with whatever can get him to the next day. So Alex is like, okay, we're cool. And then one of the most overreactions of the season comes up here with Christina, Sophie, and Alex talking about their plan to take out Nate, who they kind of clock immediately that Nate is a good game player. They don't buy the fact that he was tight with Jason, which I thought was funny. I thought Nate's story, the idea of crafting a story of being cool with Jason would have had legs if he executed it a bit better than what he did. And for a movie guy, I was expecting a little bit more. and Nate's had some amazing strategical moments for this season, right? No one's really made a good move besides Sophie with an eye, but for this season, Nate's been pretty on top of things, kind of running the show. That was a disaster. But they're kind of going through Nate's story of being tight with Jason, like, yeah, whatever, we'll vote.
They didn't buy it. No, they did not buy it.
No, they didn't buy it. And then Christina's like, yeah, like, we'll just say, like, we're going to get you, Sophie, out, but obviously we're not going to get you out. So there's nothing to worry about. And then Sophie takes this as like, okay, you kind of threw my name under the bus in a similar situation earlier in the season, and now you're doing it again. I think you're planning to get me out. But what's weird to me is Sophie's saying this to Alex. If Christina was trying to get Sophie out, Alex would know this information.
Yes.
Right? So none of it really makes sense, because Sophie's again trying to form this bond with Alex, but if that was true, then Alex wouldn't be with you and you'd be the one going home. So none of this really makes that much of sense. It's clearly a panic. It's clearly an overreaction. But Nate is by far the best beneficiary of this. He's like, oh my God, how are they infighting right now? Like, let them go at it. And all of a sudden, Sophie with an IE is pitching to be the new Sophie, to Alex. Yeah, that's her gimmick. She wants to be the new Sophie, the Sophie 2000 here. And then Nate is just going to skate by somehow. Like, what? Like, all of a sudden, Nate's looking around like, hey, you guys can do this. And Christina, earlier in the season, I don't remember if it was in the episode or if it was like the pre-episode kind of talks they do, the interviews they do before the season starts.
Yep.
She compared herself to Suri. And man, that looks worse and worse with every going episode because I don't even fault her for necessarily saying like, so we got to tell them Nate to put Sophie's, like you got to tell them to put someone's name down, right? Like, would you have been more comfortable if she said, hey, we got to put Alex's name down? Like, what do you want to happen there? I don't really understand. If you guys are solid and feel like a unit, then it shouldn't matter whose name you pitch to the other person. But I guess Sophie didn't really feel comfortable with Christina, and it was just bubbling, and this kind of made it all burst.
That's a good point, but I think that, and we said on our last week's episode, we never really saw Christina and Sophie work together, and they've been on all three tribes now. They've been on Yellow together.
No, it came like this assumption that they were working together because of the color war, and they had some moments together, but we never really saw them connect.
No, because there was early riffs on the OG Hina where they had their three, and Sophie was not a part of it, and Sophie knew that she wasn't a part of it because MC was telling her, she's like, yeah, they got a 3 and it's tight, and you're not in it. So Sophie knew that she wasn't working directly with Christina on the OG Hina. Then they obviously merged. They tribe swap, and she's on the 4-2-1 advantage again with Sophie. So there's no reason to kind of eat your own there. But now it's a tribe of 4, and there's nowhere to hide. And she's like, okay, you're again throwing my name out. It's like, am I expendable to you? And let me meet more of this Nate guy. Like maybe he's more trustworthy than Christina. I think it was a total panic by Sophie, but I also don't think if you're Christina, it's smart to throw someone's name out on your OG tribe. Like honestly.
No, maybe you just go without saying anything, and if someone brings it up like, hey, whose name were you writing down? You just, I don't know, you rock, paper, scissors. You figure out some way to do it where you're like, it doesn't matter. You can tell them me. It doesn't matter. It's okay. Are we good? We're good. Because at the end of the day, if they want to vote you out, they're going to put your name down anyway. So suggesting it to the other person doesn't really mean anything unless they had an idol. That's the only way it really matters.
But her saying that, her being like, yeah, we'll give him your name. We'll pitch your name out there. Obviously, you're not going to go anywhere. But that little thing created a crack in that whatever alliance it is. And of course, Nate's the only beneficiary there. Alex is sitting there watching it happen. But Sophie, you can tell she's a bit of a firecracker. She doesn't really want to be like, oh, I'm the one that of the 3 here. If Nate was to go, it's like I'm going to be the one. So clearly, I think in her head, she's thinking, okay, Christina and Alex are close because I'm the third wheel here. That if Nate has to write anyone's name down, it'd be my name. I don't want my name written down. So of course, she reacted that way. And I just don't know if, again, it didn't end up really mattering. But I think that if they were to go to tribal, I think that Nate would have gone home anyways. I think this was all kind of a pomp and circumstance. Like
I agree because they knew Nate didn't have the idol, so it's not like he was going to play it. Maybe he plays a shot in the dark, perhaps.
Sure, but he doesn't have a vote, so it doesn't really matter. So
at that point, it really doesn't matter unless it hits. So, and then they'd have to figure it out amongst themselves. But I didn't really understand that. It felt super like. It felt like drama for the sake of drama, didn't it? Like they always try to manufacture stuff like that, and I use that word intentionally because I feel like it is a production choice to try to plant these seeds and blow these things out of proportion. It just never felt like anything was going to happen from it.
It really didn't. That felt very manufactured, but at least we're getting some Sophie confessionals, Sophie with an IE confessionals. And
she's on the show. So is Christina.
They're both on the
welcome to the show.
We didn't see much of them. They still haven't happened to tribal. We haven't seen much of them, but at least our first takeaway of Sophie playing the game strategically is she wants to work with Alex and possibly get one of her own out. Nate excluded because let's just say hypothetically Nate was to go home and they stuck with these tribes for another week and they lost again and it was down to 3. It's clear that she's trying to work with Alex more than she's trying to work with her own OG Hina member in Christina. So clearly Alex did something there in the second tribe swap with Sophie that obviously Christina too. Christina feels very bonded with Alex. So Alex is pretty much good with both of those OG Hina women. But it feels like they're not as close together, and they've been on the tribe together all 3 times during all 3 tribes.
Right.
So that was an interesting little tidbit. Maybe that'll end up mattering here as some sort of foreshadowing. But I don't think Christina and Sophie are long for working together in this game. Tight. It's not Shannon Sage level of beef, but I don't think they're the closest.
Let's transition to the immunity challenge before we get into the new blue dynamic here. So it was the same old, same exact kind of vibe, the same modern Survivor challenge that I feel like I've seen 100 times. At least this had a bit of intrigue at the end with the maze. New Yellow was winning from start to finish. This was just an absolute masterclass. Rizzo had a great showing in this, particularly in the maze. He was kind of calming Savannah down, which I thought was big. MC on the physical stuff prior to that was unbelievable. Sophie finally has her moment, gets that kind of stick thing together to retrieve the key. They've been doing that forever. She figures it out instantly, makes it strong, and really saves them a lot of time because it felt like Christina and Steven were both a little struggling with that. And Christina's effort was just preposterous in this. But the ending was fascinating to me because it's new blue versus new red. Blue was ahead the entire time. So the way this was to me, it was yellow was far and away ahead. Then there was a big sized gap. Then there's the new blue. And then there's a bigger sized gap. And there's the new red. Because Christina just cannot figure out crafting the stick to get the key. It was just a disaster. She wasn't learning from her mistakes, which makes me really irritated. And everyone was kind of telling her exactly what to do. And she was panicking. And that's just kind of who she seems
just throwing
to be.
The stick.
But
like, all right, well,
on a show like Survivor, I have little sympathy for those kind of people. If this is real life and, whatever, somehow this comes up, in whatever way this would come up, something similar to this anyway, I'd have way more sympathy and empathy towards this person. But when you're on a show like this and you're kind of just folding over the one time, literally the one time you're asked to do anything, she hasn't been asked to do anything for 2 weeks, and this is her moment, and she folds. Give me a break. But eventually she is able to get this going, and it's a race in the maze. And what's interesting to me was I thought Sage was a absolute disaster class in this challenge. She was bad the entire time, but really in the maze, Joanne was trying to tell her to do things and like, hey, go this way.
It looked like she was in there.
It looked like she was doing nothing. And Joanne was trying to overcompensate, which I don't blame him for. He was basically trying to do it all himself. But when you have 2 people like that connected to the puzzle, you can't do it by yourself. It's just impossible.
No.
And Nate saw this. He literally looked over, saw what was happening, and was like, if we can just take a few big swings here, we can beat them. They're going way too slow. We can immediately beat them. And sure enough, that's exactly what happens. I thought Nate was masterful in this. He seemed like he was calling the shots. He seemed like he was the one who came up with the strategy. He probably knew his back was against the wall.
It was go home or
his position.
Exactly right.
It was of no fault of his own because Christina was the one who cost him this comp. And Nate was just so calm under pressure. He wins it for the new red. And then it's blue who had plenty of time to complete this. They're on the outs. And we go back to camp. And it's immediately this race. Who is to be trusted? Sage or Shannon? And let's dive into this, Mike, because I'm going to get this out of the way now. In my opinion, from watching this, just the tea leaves and everything, Shannon was in the driver's seat in 2 ways. She could have done 2 things that would have helped her survive. She saw that Steven and Joanne were kind of broing out. They were having their nerd sesh. They were broing out here. She saw that. She was taken aback by that. But what she should have done was, she's had this beef with Sage. Everyone knows that her and Sage do not get along. She could have went up to Joanne and said, hey, I know, Red Strong, all that, but Sage was talking about you, and she was talking about Savannah and how she wants to get you guys out. I'm not rocking with her. We still have 5 strong. We can kind of lure Steven over. We have Sophie with an eye. Maybe she knows that. Maybe she doesn't. I think it's kind of obvious if, just watching the challenges that Sophie with an eye is kind of in the cluck now.
Yeah.
We have the numbers still. We can get this Sage problem out. It'd be better for all of us. That's thing number 1 she could have done.
You can replace her with Sophie with an eye, basically, is what she could have done.
Exactly. That's thing 1 she could have done. Thing 2 she could have done is just staying with the red. The red seemed kind of content with staying with each other.
Yep.
Even earlier in the episode, Sage was like, I don't like her whatsoever, but I kind of have to deal with her at least to survive another day. I have to survive another day. We'll stay together. It's fine. Those are two things she could have done. Mike, what did she end up doing?
She told Jawan to write Steven, and she told Steven to write Jawan. Why would you do that? They're broing out. I couldn't really grasp what the thought process was there. First of all, just real quick on Shannon. So, as we know, Shannon and Sage have beef, right? They go to the original tribe swap, and they're on the bottom. And what is Shannon doing the whole time? She's throwing Sage. She's kicking her under the bus. She's like, I'll vote Sage out in a heartbeat. Get her out of here.
Which is fine, because she's on the bottom, and she doesn't want to be on the absolute bottom. So it's obvious that she sees that, hey, we're together. I have to preserve my safety in this game.
Of course. But now they're on the top again. Now they're no longer in the minority. They are now in the majority alliance. And what does Shannon do? She's like best friends with Sage again. She's like, we no longer have beef. We're good. We're in the majority. Let's run it. I just thought, I feel like she could have kept the beef going. Like, just because they're.
But Mike, can we talk about that? If she wanted to play that way, so that's one of the other one of the two avenues I just pitched here.
Yeah,
they're just staying right strong. She didn't really say we're all good now. That didn't really happen. It didn't seem like anyway. She could have easily pitched like, hey, I was told one of us was going home. No matter what, one of us was going home. I had to throw your name out because I wanted to preserve myself. It was never against you. I had to do that. I never wanted to be against you. She could have rationally crafted an argument. It could have been BS, and Sage could have read through it, but at least it would have kept them together for this one vote. But because she tries to connive, because she's against Sage, because she wants to vote out Jawan, but then also Steven's name is being written down, at that point, she has now thrown all three other members of the tribe under the bus, which is
it's a tribe
incredible.
Of 4. Yeah.
What are you doing?
And by the way, she ends up writing down Jawan's name. I was shocked that heading into this episode, I would have assumed, okay, she's going to try and get out Sage, or she's going to stay Uli strong and vote out Steven, which is what I thought was going to happen initially.
Those were the two logical moves to make.
She ends up, for some reason, reuniting with Jawan and says, you know what? Jawan was at the bottom of our original red tribe. Let's just get him out now. Why don't we? Let's make Steven our new Jawan. I thought that was the last thing of the three options that she would have done. Again, because you're seeing the bro out between Steven and Jawan in the early episode there. Again, now Jawan was getting along with Jason too, and he still voted him out too. So it looked like Jawan was ready to go, OG Uli strong and still vote out another one of these people that he actually does vibe with. It looked like he was ready to do that. But I figured her best pitch would have been, hey, let's get out Sage. I had beef with her. She threw all you guys under the bus in the tribe swap. Let's just get Sage out of there.
And by the way, Mike, I think Jawan wanted to do it because if you looked from the outside here, so we know because we've seen confessionals, but they obviously don't on the island.
Yeah.
If you look at it right now, Jawan probably thinks he's fourth in command. He's fourth on the sixth totem pole. But that's a fine position to be because you have to figure that Savannah, Rizgod, and Nate would butt heads at some point and take each other out. And then Jawan kind of emerges from that. Yeah. He's ahead of Shannon now because, Shannon wasn't with them prior. She was with them at the beginning, but not in the last swap. So he might think he has more standing now, and then Sage was on the bottom the entire time. So if you're Jawan, you probably think you're third or fourth in command. Why wouldn't you just want to stay red strong? Why wouldn't you want to do that? He seemed fully committed to doing that. But at the same token, he probably would have voted out Sage. I don't think he ever really liked her and vibes with her. And then, as we were talking about, she was horrible in the challenge. It's not like they knew they were going to merge the next episode, which we know. They could have potentially done this one more time. And in a challenge, who would you rather have? Shannon or Sage? It's a no contest. It just isn't. Shannon's been pretty good in all these challenges, and Sage hasn't been good at anything. So it seems like it was an obvious move for Shannon to just do something that makes, honestly, Jawan happy. She did the exact opposite by trying to get him out.
Here's the issue. It was very sloppy. So she tells Steven to write down Jawan's name, right? She then tells Jawan to write down Steven's name. She also tells Sage, let's just get out Jawan. And you know who tells Jawan all this? It's not Steven. I thought that Steven would be the one to compare notes with Jawan and be like, hey, she wants me to write your name down. Sage goes right to Jawan and she says, Sage wants you out, buddy. Or Shannon wants you out. She wants you out bad. Like, she's throwing your name out. And that's when everything changes. And I think in Jawan's head, he's like, oh, snap, this changes everything. We might have to get her out now. But obviously he's worried because he thinks that the OG Uli will look at him different if he votes out one of their own red members. Because I think he was prepared to just vote out Steven as much as he was vibing with him. I think he did want to stay Uli strong until Sage tells Jawan that Shannon wants him out. So she's the one that's telling the information. I just thought in a tribe before, when you really have nowhere to hide, Shannon throwing out essentially everybody's name was not a good idea, because eventually they're going to talk and they're going to be like, yeah, she wants you out. And then it's going to go back to them and be like, oh, snap. Well, we have to get you then. I mean, it was very, in a tribe before, it makes no sense to do that. I think she could have just stuck with the Sage beef and been like, hey, our situations are different, but I still want her out. I know we're on the majority now, but if we talked about it last week on the episode, we felt like Jawan and Steven would be making the decision because we felt like they'd still be butting heads. Talking about Sage and Shannon. Apparently they weren't butting heads, at least not in Shannon's mind. Shannon's mind was like, I got her back. I'm roping her back in. Let's go back to Red Strong. Matter of fact, not Red Strong. Let's get Jawan out. So it was all over the place. And I was like, this is not going to end well for her. So I knew she was going home the second they were going to tribal council. I was like, yeah. Because they would need Steven's vote. Steven's not going to vote himself out. They were not showing any signs of Steven voting Jawan out. And even if Steven did vote Jawan out, they did not have the numbers to get Jawan out, because that would require Sage flipping and voting for Jawan. So I was like, there's never going to be 3 votes on Jawan. So if it ends 3-1, it'll be 3-1 Shannon going home. And I don't think it'll be 3-1 Steven going home, because Shannon's not writing down Steven's name. There was no inkling of her writing down Steven's name. It was going to be Jawan's name that she was going to write down. So she was clearly left on an island heading into tribal council. She was not in the know, even though she thought she was in the know. So another kind of predictable tribal council, but the way we got there was so sloppy on Shannon's part. Again, I don't really have any sympathy for her going home because of the way she kind of handled it. I think that was the worst of the 3 options that she could have taken, was the one that she took.
Oh, it's the only option she couldn't have taken, which is the crazy part. I think it's one of, if not the most mind-numbing moves in Survivor in recent memory. It really is. It's that bad, because I think she had a really easy path to like the final 5, and she could have had her cake and eat it too. She really had the choice of getting out either Sage or Steven. And somehow it ended up with her getting voted out because she made the only wrong choice she couldn't, which, by the way, was incredibly obvious the entire time.
By the way, have she went down 3-1, but she voted out Sage, I would have been like, okay, she lost the Sage battle, but she voted out. She couldn't convince Steven and Jawan.
And then I think Jawan has a case to his old tribe. He says, hey, I heard from Sage that Shannon was desperately trying to write my name down, and she has been for weeks. And then when the votes were read, she voted out Sage. She has had this beef with Sage. Sage pulled one over on me. We have to get her out. And maybe they take that out on Jawan, but I think more realistically, they probably just take it out at Sage.
Yes, I agree. I totally agree. I just think that this was the wrong move to take. Had she gone out 3-1 and voted out Sage, and she was just unable to convince the 2 guys to ride with her, whether it was challenges or not. She's like, hey, I'm stronger than Sage. Had she just not been able to convince those 2 guys, I would have been like, okay, she went down fighting, but she lost the Sage battle. She didn't even decide to do that. She said, I'm going to go for Jawan, who you were never going to get 3 votes against Jawan. Steven was vibing out with
Mike,
him.
I'm just going to say it was offensively bad. I was like genuinely offended, and here's why. Do you know who her like Survivor idol is? Do you know those?
I hope it's not Parvati.
It's Boston Rob.
Oh, okay.
Because I believe this is true. I tried to fact check this before he came on. I couldn't get confirmation, but this is what I gathered. So prior to the season, Boston Rob and her like shared a photo or whatever, and he follows her on like all platforms. From what I gathered, there's a bar in Boston. It's called like the Greatest Bar. It's right next to TD Garden. I've actually been there. I went there a few months ago with my girlfriend when she came to visit, and we watched the home run derby there of all things. Oh. So I've been to this bar. It's a massive bar. It's huge. It's very cool. There's TVs everywhere. Apparently, Shannon's parents own that bar. So perhaps like one of her relatives served me a beer that night. Who knows? And this year, I believe, I don't know if it's just Wednesdays, I assume, or if it's all the time, who knows? They transform it into like a Survivor cafe kind of deal. They like have a watch party there. They watch Survivor there. So obviously Shannon like goes and watches it there.
Yeah.
Apparently, from what I gathered, back in the day, because this bar's been there for a while, Boston Rob was a bartender at said bar. So apparently there is a direct link, like a family friend thing, between Boston Rob and Shannon. And somehow, some way, she pulls this out of her you-know-where. It is the worst move I can remember. It is so sloppy. It is so anti-Boston Rob, it's impressive. It's just like, how are you going to have one of the best teachers of the game be like, again, like a family friend, someone you know, someone you 100% connected with before this journey started, and then pull that out. It was just unbelievable to me because, again, Mike, I can't understate this enough. She had a free ticket to like the final six. 100% in my mind, there was no doubt in my mind that she was so safe. If she was just able to get out of this, regardless if it was Sage or Steven, it didn't really matter. She was fine, and somehow she's going home.
Yeah, no, I think we mentioned on our podcast last week, right? We said with knowing the new tribe, the new 3 tribe format, which I kind of did spoil last week, even though we kind of already knew it in the previews. We both said Jawan's in the best spot if they were to go to tribal council. Like he now went from the minority.
We sniffed that out immediately.
100%. He was in the best spot. So for her to misread and be like, let's go for Jawan, who was in the best spot in this tribe swap. He's obviously vibing with Steven, and the 2 girls are beefing with each other. So obviously Jawan's sitting pretty in this scenario. Obviously, as us as an audience, we can see that. She tries.
Mike, I think we also made the point that Shannon had the upper hand on Sage in this new format because of her relationship with Jawan and the fact that we figured like Jawan and Steven could kind of vibe together.
Yes, and instead she wants to turn on Jawan because she believed that he was on the bottom of Uli originally. You know who else was on the bottom of Uli originally? Sage, who you're beefing with. You can kind of just keep kicking her under the bus if you wanted to. She could have kept doing that, but she kind of changed her tune, and it was not a great episode for Shannon. It was not a great episode for Shannon at all. Should we get to tribal council and like what happened after the vote, or?
Well, let's just blast through here. So it's a very obvious tribal council. Nothing really to report on. We can just keep trashing Shannon all we want. The only thing I'll say is once you throw someone 95% under a bus, unless something miraculous happens, there's no need to pull them back up. You have to keep getting them out until they get out. There's no reclamation project there, and it's very evident throughout that Shannon is just smoking her own supply, if you will. She's just hyping herself up constantly, subtweeting everyone else. She's like, "Oh my god, this is awesome to be here. I'm so smart. You guys are so dumb. I'm running the show." She gets voted out. She has one of the most like mind-numbing exits I can remember. All love, all good. I'm not upset at all. Even though I thought I was running this game 2.5 minutes ago, and even though that I look like an idiot right now, it's all good. All love, all this stuff. Hugs Jawan, hugs Steven.
Then the Sage one.
And then Sage goes, this isn't really genuine. I'll hug you later. We're all good. And I started dying laughing. Was that a little bit much? Yeah, a little bit. I think she could have maybe had like a hug, and then it said like, I don't know, like it had a one-liner. I thought it would have been a little funnier, but
I don't know. She's already out. I thought that was a little bit off-putting by Sage. I mean, it's good TV, but she gives her a handshake.
It felt extra, right? It felt like trying to do too much.
Guys, it's Survivor. Everyone gives fake hugs, and whether it was genuine or not. Usually, those if she wants to go out like that with all love and hey, I'm not mad. Sage was still kind of, I don't know, had some beef with her. She was like, I'm not going to hug you or whatever. I don't know. At this point, it felt like there was more personal than it was game.
100%.
So I don't know. For Sage, that was a little off-putting for me. I guess she doesn't like fake hugs.
Sage crafted this narrative that Shannon was like the most inauthentic human on the entire planet, and that thought she was dumb. I never really got that vibe. Like I've experienced these Shannon people before. Like they are genuine to themselves. It might be way too much. It might be performative. I agree with all of that. 100%. But to themselves, that's who they are. Okay? And that's the entire vibe I got from Shannon. Did I like it? Obviously not. Like, you guys have seen these shows, like our Gurus episodes, and you've seen Survivor. Like, I would not vibe with that whatsoever. But it is just who she is. I don't think she ever really talked bad about Sage as a human ever.
No,
it seems like she actually liked Sage as a human.
That's what I'm thinking.
That was a little much.
I think that Shannon was playing a game, and strategically she was not working with Sage. But I don't think she ever hated Sage as a person. I think Sage genuinely does not like Shannon at all. I think that she has a personal vendetta.
Which is her prerogative, but I thought it was a little,
I think she's a little bit of an odd duck for me. Shannon, maybe she's a little performative. I don't think she's like a bad person. I don't think she's like the shark, this evil human being that Sage was, portraying her to be in these confessionals. So, whatever. That was a Sage thing on her way out. It wasn't my cup of tea, but I mean, made for good drama, made for good television. But I don't think Sage is taking it from a game perspective. Like she's already got voted out. At this point, it's a personal thing with her. That she doesn't really like Sage. Sage's genuine inauthenticity is what she does not like about Shannon, obviously. So that's her own thing. But I think that the two guys were like, hey, we blindsided Shannon. she's taking it fine. We'll give a fake hug. We don't really care. But I guess they had their long-standing beef that just kind of boiled over after the tribal. But whatever.
Let's transition into next week, which is the merge, and then our teams here. So you still have your premium draft picks here. You still have Nate, who is really on the ropes, it seemed like, much of this episode, and
he saved his
came
own
out
life
probably better than ever. You have Savannah as well, who's in the driver's seat. I think she's, the best player on this season by a decent enough margin, even though my first pick, Sophie with an I, has something to say about that. And then you have Alex as well, who's kind of a wild card. You had MC late, which seems like the steal of the draft, if not for Rizgon, who I got a bit later. He seems like he's in a great place. I think my Jawan and Steven pairing looks really good right now. Yeah. And then towards the end of our teams, it was slop, obviously. We were just picking people to pick people. You had Jeremiah and Annie. I had Shannon with my last pick. Sage did go undrafted, so shout out to Sage for somehow surviving. It seems like one of those things where it's inevitable. She's going home really soon, but, she's skating through, so good for her. I lose points because of it, but good for her.
I guess I'm taking over Annie. My bad. I didn't see it coming. Right.
Yeah, I mean, how could you? I still have Christina as well, which I don't feel great about. So we're pretty even right now. I'd say right now it's kind of a 3-on-3. It's a Sophie, Rizzo, and I'd put Steven as my third.
Steven with your 12th pick is looking pretty good right now. I think
I think that's a really good steal. And then your 3, I'd say Nate, Savannah. I'd swap Alex and put MC in there. And then I think that's a pretty good 3-on-3. Yeah. And then the rest, we'll see how it goes. But real quick, before we go here, who do you think, I asked you this last time, and I want to ask you it again. Who do you think is now in a better position with a merge, and who do you think is now in a worse position because of a merge?
Well, can I say that I don't love a merge one episode? First of all, now we've gotten 3 tribe swaps in the last 4 episodes. So I just want to dunk on this whole thing. It's not as cool when Jeff says drop your buffs when it happens 3 times before. At some point, it's not as cool. Like, I'm sorry. Like, he said, drop your buffs. And by the way, he's overperformative as is like, you can see he's like kind of making it some sinister thing where he's like walking up very slowly, handing them their buffs. Like, this is the fate of your game. It's like, they're about to change tribes again, literally 1 episode later. So it's like not the big of a deal. Just don't lose the challenge, and you're gonna be fine. So now we're getting our 3rd tribe swap in the last 4 episodes. We literally only stayed with 3 tribes once, and now we're merging at 11 people. So
I hate it too, but I've done that rant the last few weeks, so I just don't have the energy to do it a third time. So I'm glad you brought it up.
Jeff, you get off the hook for this week. But yeah, so at the merge here, I think that we're looking at. I think MC might be in a worse spot because everybody knows that she's this challenge threat that if she doesn't win immunities early, you can possibly get her out. So I think that she might be in a worse spot now because they're down in the color war. Let's be real here. Even though Red purged one of their own, they still have a 5-4-2 advantage in terms of like the actual OG tribes if they were just to go on OG tribal lines. So I think MC might be in a worse spot because I think that there's 5 Ulis, right? But they also have Sophie with an I on their side. So that's pretty much 6 against 4.
That is the majority.
It's the majority. It's 6 people with 11 people.
But Mike, is Sage really a part of that?
Not really. No, she's not really a part of it. I think Juwan, though, could possibly still be a part of it. I don't know. And he could possibly sway Steven and MC. I don't know how it's gonna boil down. That's the one thing I actually am interested in about the season. I don't know how it's gonna finish, really. But I think that MC's in a worse spot. I think that the person in a better spot probably would. Again, I'm sticking with it. Sophie and Alex are the lone remaining Kellas, and no one's looking their way, and no one should be looking their way because what are they? No one knows that Sophie has a knowledge is power advantage. She's in with the larger group here, if you will. Alex is kind of a social butterfly. Everyone loves Alex right now. Both of the OG Hina women love him. Christina and Sophie wants to be the new Sophie for Alex. So everyone wants to work with Alex right now. I think that in an early merge situation, I don't think either of them are going to be the ones getting axed. I think we're going to still see a Uli versus Hina, red versus yellow, at least in the early merge. So I think Sage could be on the outs. I think Jawan could be expendable. I think in terms of the yellow people, I think Sophie with an IE could get her foot in her mouth, possibly. I think that could possibly be where you see there, but and maybe Steven. But I think that Alex and Sophie, the 2 original Kellas, are still in a really good spot because no one's looking their way right now.
You want to know something crazy?
What is it?
You know who I think is in by far the best spot? And I mean by far the best spot, and I can't believe I'm saying that.
Is it Rizzo?
Juwan. Here's why. Are you ready? I'm going to make the case, and I think you're going to like it. I'm going to make the case. So, Sophie with an I, Rizzo, Nate, and Savannah seem like a solid quartet, a solid foursome, right? They need two more for the majority. So Juwan is supposed to be the fifth wheel to that, okay? So he can do one of two things. He's the key to keeping either Sage or Steven on their side to make a majority. He's the key to that. He's the key to making it 6, whether it's Sage or Steven. He's the key to making that happen. Or he's the key to flipping the color war against them and going to the other side and kind of being a double agent. So he right now, depending on how he's able to maneuver, he's in the best position.
But he's in the middle.
But when you're in the middle in an 11-person tribe, I think that's a really good place to be right now because he can go to either side. It's not like he's trying to flip against red and then red finds out, they get mad, both sides are like, hey, we're going to take the snake out. It's not really like that. Juwan seems to be more loyal to red, but it could come out that like, hey, like Savannah's been talking bad about you somehow. I don't know who would spill that because the only people that know that are really close to her. But God forbid if that comes out, he could flip the game, go to the other side, bring Sage with him, and then all of a sudden red's kind of decimated.
Yeah, so you made the case for him being in the middle, which is a solid spot to be in.
I think it's the best spot because I think whatever path he chooses, let's say he sticks with the red, and let's just say, for sake of argument, it's all of red and Sophie, okay? Just for sake of argument.
He's not in the best spot, though, if he sticks with red.
He's on 5 on that. But Sophie has the knowledge is power, so that's going to upset Rizzo eventually because she's going to take his idol if it comes down to it. Okay, so that's going to be one thing. And then 2, it's kind of obvious that Rizgon, Savannah, and Nate are all big personalities. That is incredibly obvious. Eventually, they're going to turn on each other.
Savannah also can't stand Juwan. She wants to get
out of here. But he doesn't know that, though. He has no idea about that. And I don't think the rest have the disdain for Juwan that Savannah does, which I think is very key. If they did, that'd be different. But I think the only one really gunning for him in the entire game is Savannah. But I think the reason why this is so important here, the reason why I'm saying he's in such a good position, because if something happened, if there was an idol played, whatever, and the minority side, so the remainder of yellow plus Alex, just talking this out here, if they were somehow able to take a shot at red, it'd probably be Rizzo, Nate, or Savannah. It wouldn't be Juwan. That's why he's in the best spot. He has the best survival path. He doesn't have the best win equity at all, but he's the best survival path being in the middle going forward. That's just my opinion here.
I don't think that he's in the best spot because I think whichever way he goes, he's still a big threat because he'd be making a big move in the game. Whether he was to swap tribes and go and kind of upset the color war, if you will, he would be the guy that you saw jump ship. So he would be public enemy number 1 as far as threat level. So he would have a huge threat level on his. So I think the middle is different.
It would depend if Sage went with him. It would really depend if Sage went with him, though.
Of course, but I think even then he's a bigger threat than Sage, and that's just my opinion.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah. But my thing is, I don't think that he can actually be in the best spot going forward if he's on the bottom of whatever side he's voting with. Whether he's voting with original OG red, I still think Rizzo and Savannah are kind of running the show there, along with Nate once he gets back up.
My only thing is I don't think he's at the very bottom, which I think is very important because I think Sophie might be ahead of him. But as soon as Sophie upsets Rizzo, which I think has to be coming, right? It has to be coming.
Right, but Sophie because she has, as we mentioned, the overpowered knowledge is power advantage. So she's in a good spot because no one knows about it, which is, as you mentioned earlier, probably the best move of the season right now because she has it and no one knows that she has it. So she could use that.
She was my other one, by the way. Just saying. To me, it was Juwan and Sophie with an I, easily the best two, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think Juwan's more in the middle. I think Sophie is more integrated and she's not as big of a threat, I don't think, because I think everyone knows she hasn't really eaten. I mean, now she's eaten, but I think
she's still kind of the wounded puppy. Yeah, I agree.
I think Juwan is still upsetting people in his own kind of click there with Savannah.
You really think it's that serious? I know they planted the seeds for a while, but to me, it just feels like Savannah cares. It doesn't feel like anyone else cares, though. That's the only thing.
Savannah. Yeah, but how many times they got to show it for us to?
She does have so much influence, though, and they have shown it a few times.
They've shown it a ton. I would be remiss if I didn't think it mattered a little.
I'm just trying. When I think about these things, I try to think about it from their perspective on the island. I try not to think about it from what we know.
I totally agree. I think Rizzo and Nate like Juwan. I think they have no issue with Juwan. I think that Savannah is, for some reason, not really vibing with him because of whatever external.
Yeah,
factor.
It makes sense.
Yeah, but I think that he is the swing guy in this hypothetical early merge. I think he's the guy to watch. I don't think that long term, once we merge now, I don't think he's in the best spot because I don't know if he's running either ship. I don't know if he's running I think Savannah and Nate, and you can throw Rizzo in there too, are running that side of the island. I think on the other side, you're going to have the MCs, the Stevens, and the hodgepodge of whatever you want to come up with there. I don't know if Jawan is like the leader of that group, although I guess he could be if he wanted to jump ship. I don't know if he's made enough social standing with those guys. I think he has good standing with Steven on that other side, but he's never once met MC, I don't believe. And he's never once met I'm also blanking on Christina and Sophie with an IE. So he's never met any one of those three OG Hina women. So I don't know if he's going to be good with that side either. So I have to see. These next 2 episodes are going to be very interesting. I know we've been dugging on the season, but these first 2 merge boots possibly could be predictable. Also could possibly be very interesting if we get some kind of underlining drama that we've been getting with these kind of foreshadowing. I don't know. That I'm interested to see. I do think that he's in a better spot than I anticipated, but I also think that he could, if he doesn't play it right, could get axed if people see that he's trying to play the middle. And that's
I could see that. I think, in my opinion, if he goes about it well, it could be super well. I guess I'm just saying he has the best ceiling, in my opinion, from where he was to where he could be. But I understand what you're saying for sure. It's not guaranteed.
Because what if he tries to switch sides and say, "Hey, let's take out Savannah. She's running the ship," and that gets back to Savannah, and she has the influence to then turn it around.
It'd be kind of dumb for them to take that back to Savannah.
I know,
it really would be.
Of course, it would. But if she is the kind of
I mean, this season isn't filled with gamers. There's
not a lot of gamers here. If he says it to the wrong person, if he says it to Sophie or Alex, and Alex tails Sophie, and Sophie loves Savannah,
Can I give you a super sneaky, maybe worse position? And I know you said no one's looking his way, but
is it Alex?
Yes, because physically he's the most intimidating person by far. Because MC to me is the most physically intimidating person, but
right. Of course.
She's a woman, and they just won't think of her in that way, in my opinion. Even though I respect her enough to come to that conclusion. She's unbelievable. It's incredible. She is such a good athlete. It's not even funny. Just visually, like traditional sense, Alex is the last one left. I think in Modern Survivor, we've seen it time in and time out. Those guys always are targets immediately. I think he's in the minority right now. I think maybe Sophie with an eye pitches for him to come over. Maybe he can come over, do some like celebrity voting. Like, hey, who do you need? Okay, okay. I'll sign my 1-day contract. We're getting them out. But that only lasts you so long.
Yeah.
There's going to be a point where he maybe overperforms, he wins an immunity necklace, and they're like, okay, Sophie. Like, you see this now, like, this is getting a little bad, right? Like, we kind of have to take his legs out.
He needs things to break his way. He needs Red to kind of purge themselves. He needs that Rizzo, Nate, Savannah trio to kind of butt heads a little bit.
Do you think that's going to happen? Because I don't think it's going to happen until it doesn't really matter anymore.
I think it's going to happen at like maybe finals. I think Nate's in a really good spot. I think Nate could kind of coast his way. Once he survived that not getting tribal council with this, he's on the minority. He's right back to that being in the top caller position. So I think he's
one of my favorites of the season. I think he's the only one. I mean, he had the bad read with the Jason story, but I think he was just trying to pull it out. He
had one day to integrate himself and make a story that would hopefully buy them one vote. He knows he's got to get through one vote. I don't think he did a good job, but also I think that he benefited to the other thing happening with the Sophie and Christina rift. But yeah, I think that was the one mistake he made. But he's actually had a pretty good season so far.
I think just real quick, Sophie with an IE, really tough spot, as is Christina. I think Steven has avenues going forward, potentially because of his relationship with Juwan, and he's just really a likable guy.
He's a likable
guy.
I
think even though he's really good at the comps, like he carried in the last comp, but he's just not like visually intimidating.
I think if Alex was to leave, he would be the next in line as far as like, okay, Steven, Rizzo, Jawan, those guys would be as far as the guys.
Because Rizzo's so goofy. Even though he's killing the challenges as well, he almost gets away with it. Steven is more cerebral, even though again he's also a goofy, nerdy kind of guy.
Yeah, out of
MC
all the guys,
potentially as an idol, so I wouldn't rule her out just yet.
Right. Out of all the guys, Nate's been the one that's struggling at the challenges the most, outside of the puzzle there. But he just physically, he's an older guy. As far as the immunity,
he's been really good at like the puzzles and all of that stuff. He's just been a step behind in the physical stuff.
Yeah, I mean, he's dealing with guys that are 20 years younger than him, so that makes sense. But I think that if you talk about immunity challenges wise, as far as threats, it would be Alex, then Steven, and then you got the Rizzo and Jawan thing. But I think Nate's like at the bottom tier of like threat level as far as physical challenges go, not like mazes and puzzles as far as that. But you know how we all know how these merge individual immunity challenges go. It's a lot of balancing, a lot of things with balls, a lot of that stuff. So we'll see who's good at that. I mean, I don't know yet. We're going to find out on this cast, I guess.
Any final thoughts?
Get me to Survivor season 50 is really my final thoughts. But I'm interested. I'm interested enough to see how the end of the season goes. I'm interested. It's keeping me interesting enough. Although every single tribal council so far has been very, very predictable. I'm interested to see how the end game goes because I can't quite predict it yet.
Do you put any stock in Jeff numerous times? I just saw an interview. I don't know where he was. I should have looked that up. But again, it was, I believe, on Tuesday. So before the episode aired on Wednesday here.
Yeah.
He again reiterated something he said a few times here where this end game's amazing. Like, it's incredible.
Yeah.
Like, there's so much unpredictable
He said it before
events that happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you put any stock in that?
Not really. I don't know. With Jeff, I don't put too much stock into it, is what I'll say.
He is a salesman. It is a show. He has to get people to watch.
Every season, he says it's a great season. And again, last season, he did correctly say it's a season of duos. We did see a lot of duos with Kyle, Camilla. We saw Joe and Eva. We saw David and Merritt. We saw some duos. So he wasn't wrong when he said it's a season of duos. He said this season has a great end game. What great means to him may not mean to everyone else. So I don't know for sure whether to buy stock in it. But I am interested to see. I do think we are boiling up for a solid finish because I don't know how it's going to go, which means it's unpredictable. Possibly the first half has been totally predictable, but maybe that means the second half will be unpredictable. Is what is my guess in that.
Outside of Jason, we've kind of had a lot of like well, even Jason didn't really try that hard. We've kind of had a lot of the fat of the season. I would have liked to see Jason and Matt try to maneuver in a more advantageous position. They really didn't have a chance. But outside of those two vote outs, like, and I guess Jake didn't really have a chance here, but for the most part, a lot of these other people, like, sayonara. Like,
a lot of the better players are still in the game, which is good for us.
Yeah, we haven't really had someone that I've really been interested in. Honestly, besides the medevac here,
like a true shocker. It's like, wow, he got voted out immediately. It's
yeah, we still have Rizzo, we still have Savannah, we still have Steven, who I've really come to like the last few weeks. Yeah, we still have Sophie with an I. We still have MC. Like, we still have the meat of the season. So I think like it has to be better. It can't be worse. It has to be better.
Also, we've had no advantages played so far, so that means we're probably gonna get a ton played here in the next few weeks. Maybe we're gonna see some craziness, and then we'll have actual stuff to react to. Right now,
there will be journeys with advantages. I'm sure there will be something in a burger. There will be, all the hits here.
Yeah, that will be. We'll have an easier reaction to, because right now we're kind of reacting to the fat being cut. At this point, we're cutting the fat. But overall, I mean, I'm intrigued enough.
So next week, everybody, this is in pencil. This is not in pen. This is not in Sharpie. This is in pencil. We're going to try to do a live reaction after the episode. Yep. Now, with the World Series ending in a few days, and with basketball still in its infancy, obviously the NFL doesn't play on Wednesdays. Mm-hmm. So the time slot's open here. The time slot is open. Wednesdays are free. We're going to try to react. Maybe we'll even do it live. I know we can live stream onto YouTube, so we can even try to do that. If people like that, these Survivor episodes have been doing actually really well as far as viewership beyond just the Mike and X sphere of people here. So I'm glad this has hit some corner of the United States. Someone is looking up Guru's Survivor breakdown and is at least listening to what we have to say. So hopefully that can help take us off. And, maybe we'll get some ex-Survivor people. Like, who knows? Apparently, it's kind of easy to get these people on.
It is.
So.
Yeah, 100%. Maybe we can get one of them on the show, and we'll react to an episode.
That'd be kind of sick. Like, we're just like, hey, Sam, season 47. Like, you wanna be a guru for a day?
Yeah. What are your thoughts on this episode? Let's break it down. That would be hilarious. So yeah.
And then tell me about Caleb Williams, since I know you're a Bears fan. Yeah,
he's a big Bears fan. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. But I'm excited for that. But make sure to like, comment, subscribe, do all that fun stuff. We're still sticking with the Survivor stuff. It's been really fun. I've enjoyed it. As far as the sports stuff, I believe we're going to do a college basketball preview. That's another thing that's in pencil, not in pen. If not, we'll still continue to talk about this NFL season and then do an NBA 1 month recap in a few weeks here, because basketball is getting really hot right now. So I really want to talk about that soon. Yeah. But anyway, that is Mike Testa, who this is always inverted. I always point the wrong direction. That is Mike Testa.
I'm always pointing the wrong way too. I'm like, which one?
Yeah, this is Xaiver. We'll fix that eventually. And we will see you next time.